All right, good morning everyone. Welcome to our Friday morning coffee chat. Good morning, good morning. Just about to get underway. Okay. Howdy, how you doing? This is our Friday morning coffee chat and Q&A session where you get to ask me any questions at all about learning to paint or about becoming a full-time working artist. Let me get that out of the way. And or making the transition to becoming a professional artist. Your opportunity to ask me anything at all. Now, for those of you who don't know me, my name is Rod Moore. See my name there? I'm the founder of the Learn to Paint Academy and the Moore Method of Painting, and we do this Friday morning coffee chat to basically answer all your questions about painting. So please give some consideration to what questions you'd like to ask me, and hopefully we'll be able to answer them for you, right? So welcome to everyone who's joining me on Facebook and YouTube, and people on Twitch and Periscope. Welcome. Good morning, John. Very wet in Taiwan. Very good. We need some of that here, so send some rain our way. Morning, Yvonne. 42 today. Beautiful. I don't know if you guys get humid or a dry heat, but I don't mind it hot as long as it's not too humid. So I hope that's not too hot for you today, Yvonne. I've just been down, I'm looking a bit rough and ready. I've just been down to Noosa Beach for a swim this morning, and another beautiful day in paradise, so got to be happy about that. Morning, Heather, how are you? Hope you're well. Hope you're well. And people on YouTube, please let me know where you're tuning in from. So we haven't done a giveaway for a little bit, so I'm going to do a giveaway today. We're going to give away one of our limited edition mouse mats, Learn to Paint mouse mats. So I'm going to give one away to somebody on Facebook and somebody on YouTube for the best question. And I'm just going to pick the best question based on my personal preference. And so fire away with your best questions. Yvonne's saying a dry heat. Yeah, I don't mind a dry heat. 42 is getting up there though, isn't it? G'day Anne, how are you? You're also getting 42 because you're in WA, and Gabrielle's in WA. This is the WA coffee chat this morning. G'day Gabrielle. Good morning Anne. So yeah, we're going to give away our limited edition mouse mat. If you want to win a mouse mat, ask me your very best question and I'll pick the question that I think is the best one. Good morning, Rose in Tassie. G'day, how are you? Got a good friend down in Tassie who's doing some nice painting at the moment. Hi, Celine in Ohio. Welcome. G'day, Gladys. How you doing? Hope you're well. So this is our final coffee chat. Morning, Gab. Our final coffee chat and Q&A. So I hope you've got some good questions for me, because I'm here to help you guys. I'm just looking at myself in the monitor. I'm looking a bit rough this morning, aren't I? This is my new surfy look. So yeah, I haven't been able to get back to surfing yet because the ribs haven't healed, but I've definitely been going down swimming each morning, which has been beautiful. Morning, Beverly in Ontario. Welcome. Good to see you again, Dale. Hope you're well. So yeah, I hope you've all got your coffee and you've got good questions for me. I've got something I want to chat about first, so we'll talk about that. But this is our final coffee chat live stream for the year. And I think next year we're probably going to do a different format with our live streams. Oh, you're too kind, Gab. Ruggedly handsome, thank you. We're probably going to do a slightly different format next year. I think we'll do maybe the live streams once a fortnight, and we'll do them one as a coffee chat and Q&A, and another one as maybe a more of a critique paintings, because I've been thinking about you guys who are in the Facebook group posting up your paintings and so on. I just physically don't have the time to come in and give detailed feedback to people. So I've been thinking about how do we do that better. So for those of you who want critiques and more in-depth feedback, once a month we'll do our Friday morning session will be a critique session, and we'll go through those who want their paintings evaluated. We'll go through those in a lot more detail. And then the live stream painting sessions, we might only do one of those a month, but I want to do longer, more in-depth ones that might be 3 or 4 hours. So I'll make those available to our members, monthly members and life members and so on. So we'll see. I'll keep you posted with what changes we're going to make for the new year. But I'm just thinking about the format and so on, how we can get the best value out of what we do. So John says, did you say you use spray varnish in one of your previous coffee chats? I'd look the same on Friday as my Van Gogh look. Yeah, the Van Gogh look. Crazy. I do use spray varnish, yes, John. I find that the easiest. So I do use spray varnish, yes. Good morning, Carol in New Zealand. Very pleasant 24 degrees. Lovely. You notice my hair's growing? Yes, I need to go and shear my hair, have a shave, and pull myself together. I'm just looking a bit too relaxed. But you know, like I've really getting back into the beach and going most days, and I'm starting to become a surfy bum, a surfy artist bum. But anyway, morning Miriam, how are you? Hope you're well. It was good chatting to you yesterday. And while we were getting going here, I'll let you know that Miriam and I have been working on a romantic figure painting course, which I've just about got it ready, and I'm hoping to release that in the next week. So look out for that. Miriam's done a demonstration painting of her style, and then I've done some videos around how I approach figures, and hopefully between us you'll find something of value there. I'm sure you will. So look out for that. Probably next week, I'd say. Yeah, I'd say we'll have it ready by next week. So look out for that. It's pretty exciting stuff. And then hopefully we can encourage Miriam to do some more for us in the future. All right, now Rose is in Tassie. 14 degrees in Tassie. Oh, that sounds a bit cold for me, Rose. I used to live in Geelong, Melbourne, and it was too cold there. Celine's got her wine in hand in Ohio. That's the spirit. It is 6 p.m. Even though this is our coffee chat session, I think that's the way to approach it. Not that I can have wine anymore. Okay, so I had something I want to talk to you about. A little bit of something that's been on my mind. Something I've been thinking about. G'day, Jim in Ireland. How you doing, mate? Hope you're well. Miriam says, excited for the release. Yeah, it's going to be good. Carol, yes, you'll enjoy Miriam's painting. I think we've all been impressed with Miriam's work. And she's certainly got that romantic figure feel down pat. So, yeah, it'll be good. So I have something I've been thinking about a lot with my own painting. And hopefully it'll help you guys as well. And what I've been thinking about is, and it's something I've noticed, especially with people who are just starting out painting. So I've been looking at, running the Learn to Paint Academy, I get some insight as to how people progress through the different stages of painting. And recently, I think it was last week, I had a painting that I did that I went into a big group exhibition here. It's one of the biggest shows in the area here at the Butter Factory in Karoi. And so I was looking at some of the artists that I like, and I noticed that I could pick their work from anywhere, right? They've got a very strong voice, or their work is very recognizable. And then I was thinking about some of our students and also what I was like when I started out. And one of the things that I noticed was that I would jump around all over the place. Different subjects, different medium, different styles, different approaches. One day I was doing Bob Ross, and the next day, you know what I mean? So I was jumping around all over the place. And so one of the things that I have been thinking about for my own painting career is to really focus in on picking a subject matter and a medium and digging really deep, rather than bouncing around all over the place from different subjects, one subject to the next, changing mediums and just changing all the time. Picking one subject matter and then digging really deep into it and building a body of work around that one subject matter. Because what I've noticed is that the more that I do that approach, the more I get to understand the subject so that the paintings become better. So this is one of the things that I'm challenging myself with. So right at the moment I'm working on 2 different bodies of work. They're completely different, and my objective is to dig deep into them, to do maybe 40 or 50 paintings in each of these 2 different subject matters. So I'm going to show you one today. And if that's okay with you guys, if you want to see some of the work I'm doing in one of the bodies of work. But I just know that if you pick one, like Miriam's a great example, right? She does her romantic figures very, very well. And because she's done a lot of them, they get easier, or I don't know if they get easier. I don't want to speak for Miriam, but I know from my own experience that the more you focus in on a subject and work at that one subject, the better you become at that, right? So and as part of that, collecting lots of reference material around that one subject. So there was a guy in New York, and he started to do photography, right? And he would go out in the streets of New York, and he would pick a person and take portrait photos of them, and he built up a body of work around the faces on the streets of New York, and he built up this huge body of work around it. And as a result of that, of course, he got a lot of media attention, and then he got exhibitions of the work, and everything snowballed, and he got better and better at actually picking the right faces and the right stories and stuff. So I think there's a lot of merit in really focusing in on one particular subject and one particular medium to paint that subject in. So that's what we're going to have a little bit of a look at, and I'll show you what I'm doing. Gladys says it's -3. That doesn't sound like fun at all. You probably need a glass of wine with Celine. That just sounds too cold to me. Celine, I'm definitely on the jumping around phase. Yeah, and lots of us are, and I've done it as well. And so I have a challenge with the Learn to Paint Academy. One of the things that I have to be mindful of is creating projects and courses that cover a wide variety, because I need to make sure everyone gets something they're happy with, right? So I need to be careful that doesn't distract me from, when it comes to my own work, for me exhibiting my own work and building my own professional career as an artist, that I don't continue to bounce around. And it just so happens I like lots of different subjects, right? So how do you pick one, right? Well, I think the number one criteria for me is picking a subject matter that I can get lots of reference material for, and then I like that subject matter enough that I can spend a lot of time digging deep into that subject. Not just doing one painting of, let's say you pick waterfalls, right? You don't just do 1 or 2 paintings and then next day you're painting clowns, because you'll never master one topic. And all the artists who get really well known, generally they get well known for a particular body of work that they do. You think about Monet's water lilies, right? Now, most people don't know his whole career of work, but they do know his water lily series. He became known for that. Arthur Streeton's sort of sunburnt landscapes, where he captured the light effects in Australian landscapes. That's what he became known for, even though he painted other things, So I think this is what I'm going to really focus on in 2020. And I just wanted to share that with you, so that you can give it some thought and consideration as well. And I think it'll make you a better painter. And it doesn't mean that you have to then spend the rest of your painting career just painting that one subject. It just means we dig deep, build out a body of work around that. That then gives you, if you did 40 or 50 paintings in that one body of work, you can then go to galleries and say, I've got a big body of work, and you can pick out your best 20 and exhibit those. Oh, by the way, Miriam, round of applause for Miriam, just sold 4 paintings at an exhibition she did. So well done, Miriam. That's a great job. If I get enough people saying yes, they want to see the little body of work that I've started, then I'll show you that. So just let me know. Give me a yes or a thumbs up. And g'day Barry, how are you? In WA, good to see you, mate. Colin, g'day Colin, how are you, mate? Good to see you. Gladys says, I've started a binder with printed photos for reference. Yep, excellent. trying to find what inspires me the most. Yeah, and some of that might be that you look at other artists' work, which I spend a fair bit of time doing. But yeah, that's what you need to do, is start building up your own reference material, and identifying which things you really enjoy painting. And I promise you that if you dig deep into one subject and one medium, that you will become so much better at that one subject. 26 degrees, Barry. Yep, it's going to be a hottie there. I think we had about the same. We went for a swim at Noosa this morning at 6 a.m. around at Little Cove, and it was already warm as the sun got over the trees. Yep, so a few people are saying yes, they want to see. Okay, and I think this particularly applies for those of you who are wanting to build out a career, and start to sell some paintings, is that you get really good at a subject matter. And once you get really good at it, you can then add another subject matter in. I don't think that's a problem. Miriam says, I agree. Focus on what you love. I do practice landscapes and still life here and there, but mostly practice. Yeah. As backdrops for figure paintings. Yeah, exactly right. Okay. So I've got enough of you. G'day, Peter. How are you, mate? Hope you're doing well. Haven't spoken for a while. All right. So Colin's saying yes. Gladys is saying yes. Celine, yes. Okay. So this is I'm experimenting with new technology here for our live streams. Always looking for ways to improve. So fingers crossed that this works. So I'm going to cut. I've actually set my mobile phone up, and it's connected now to our live streams. So let me just cut across to that. All right. Now this is unfortunately it's going to be a little bit shaky, right? So I'm going to have to pick up my phone. But just bear with me. And you're going to get an inside look into my very messy garage and studio. So ignore all of that, right? Okay. So don't look at my mess. That's a little one of Montville views there that we did. Okay. So this is the paintings I've been working on. Hopefully you can still hear me. But these are, and you've seen me do some of these, and following me on Rock More Art, you've seen me post these. But this is basically around Noosa First Point and Little Cove. So I just really focusing on building out a series of paintings that are very similar, but they're slightly different, and they're all using similar framing and sizes and so on. There's another one. And my goal here is to, as I said, to build out a collection of 40 or 50 of these, and then start to exhibit the best ones. That's the Lookout at Little Cove. You may have seen me post that on my Rodmore Art one. This is the one we did on the live stream we finished off. Okay, so I'm reasonably happy with this one now. This is looking back to Little Cove. Okay, and then I've got this one here at First Point. So I'm starting to build up a collection, but you can see that there's a similar look and feel to all of them. They're obviously the same subject matter around that Noosa First Point and Little Cove area. All similar sort of subject matter. And sorry, that part's a bit rough. I know. So over Christmas, I'm going to take a little bit of time out from Learn to Paint Academy stuff and really work on developing that body of work out, till I've got 20, 30, 40 paintings. So does that make sense what I'm talking about? Like, can you see just looking at those 4 or 5 that there's a cohesion to them? There's the same palette, really important, same color scheme, same framing, and when you put them up on a wall in a gallery, they're going to look like a collection of work, a body of work. And I think that's the point I'm trying to get across. So let me know if that makes sense, and that you're sort of getting what I'm trying to talk about here, or if I had too much salt water this morning. Celine says, yes, I'm trying to find my style as well. Right now I'm focused on abstract and stylized. Yep. And abstract can be hard to find a style within abstract. You want to try and find one thing that you can put into each of the paintings that really identify that that's one of your paintings. Yeah, maybe it's a focal point or it's the palette that you use. G'day Robert in Darwin, 26 degrees. Yep, I think we're in for a hottie today, all over the place. Oh, you're hearing an echo. Okay, my apologies for that. Is the echo gone? Yeah, I must have been with a mobile phone. I do apologise for that. Thank you, Barbara. Thanks, Gladys. Appreciate that. Morning, Lisa. How are you? Yeah, so thanks, Miriam. Yeah, I'm happy with the way they're starting to come together. Heather says a collector's dream. Yeah, it'd be nice if a collector just came and bought the whole 40 paintings. That'd be great. Well, you know, it could happen. It could be a hotel or somewhere like that, a tourist place, you know. Having a cohesive collection of work, I think, makes it easy to sell, definitely. Thanks, John. Yeah, colours are brilliant. Yeah, it's actually a little bit dark in that part of the garage here because I don't have any lights there, but they do actually, they're quite vibrant and strong colours. But they haven't been varnished yet, so I'll do that next year sometime. But I think they're going to look great up on a wall, especially when I build it out. And I'll have a couple of bigger ones and maybe half a dozen smaller ones. So maybe three different sizes and one or two different frames, but very similar. So, yeah. So thanks, John. Thank you, Yvonne. Yes, they're starting to look good. And I think one of the important thing is, as you build out that body of work, that you do lay them out so that you can see that you're making sure you've got that cohesion and that there's a commonality amongst them. Yeah. Yeah, the echo's gone. Yeah, I think it's when I switched to my mobile phone, it was feeding back. So I'll have to work on that. I think, hang on. Well, I've got you here. I'll just test. Oh, no, I won't waste your time. I'll figure that out. It's quite a handy little device to be able to have a roving camera though, so I'll explore that in the future. Thank you, Barbara. Thanks, Gladys. Barry says, brilliant idea with the series. Yeah, and I think I'm sharing this with you because for those of you who want to go out and sell your work and develop your career a bit more, I think this is an important aspect of becoming professional as an artist. I did one of our podcasts, the Artist Soul podcast, from a couple of weeks ago. I talked about the difference between an amateur and a professional. And I think a professional does build out a body of work. And by doing that, and that's what they exhibit, is a body of work. And by doing that, they also develop a voice that people recognize them by. So hopefully that will be something that you can take on board and think about over the Christmas break and you know, really focus in on for next year. Now, that doesn't mean I won't do other paintings outside the series, but my main focus for my painting is going to be this series. And I've got another series that I've been working on, which is Riverbanks and Roots, which is completely different color scheme, right? It's very warm and very vibrant, warm tones, and I'm using acrylic for that, whereas this is all oil, right? So, you know, I've got two series running at once, which I'm like that. I always have multiple projects on the go. So there you go. That's what I wanted to share with you this morning. Hope that helps. And now I'm going to turn it over to you to ask any questions you may have. And I'm going to give away, final giveaway for the year, a limited edition Learn to Paint mouse mat. One person on Facebook and one person on YouTube for the best question. And I get to choose because it's my live stream, right? And while you think of a question, I'll pop this up on the screen for you. If you're brand new to us, this is the first time you've joined us on a live stream, and you haven't been to the Learn to Paint Academy yet, up on the screen there is a web address, www.learntopaint.info. And at that address, you can register for a free course where I take you through the Moore method of painting, and there's 4 or 5 different demonstrations there that you can have a go at. So write down this web address here, learntopaint.info, and go and register as soon as the live stream's over. I think you'll enjoy it, as so many others have. All right, so over to you. Question time. What questions do you have? Last chance for this decade to ask me a question, right? Because after that, I'm going into shutdown mode for Christmas. So there's the last chance for you to ask me a question. Thank you, Lisa. Appreciate that. Barbara says, very good info, really gives me something to think about. Yeah, and that's what I wanted to, challenge you and give you different ways of thinking about how you go about your art, rather than just painting randomly. Paint with a purpose and a strategy and a plan, and that'll help you develop your career a bit more. I don't know, John, because as I mentioned earlier, I'm thinking about rejigging the way we do the live streams. So, look out for notifications early in the new year, and I'll keep you posted on that. That's no good. If you're having serious withdrawals, then you can always go back to the Learn to Paint Academy Facebook page and go into the video section, and you can watch all the reruns. So I don't know why I want to do that, but anyway. Lisa says, I'm getting some oil paints for Christmas. Do you have any tips on getting started? Lisa, I've got a 9-hour course in the Learn to Paint Academy on oil painting, and there's also the water mixable oil painting course as well. So my tip would be to go through that, go through those. Oils feels different from acrylic, and it takes a while to get a feel for oils because you're painting wet on wet. But there's definite strategies for that. We talked about some of these strategies. I think one of the last coffee chats, I talked about 5 keys to improve your painting. And I talked about painting thin and starting out with thin paint and progressively getting thicker. That's probably the most important tip that you need to know about oil painting, which works perfectly with the Moore method of painting, right? In our drawing step, we use very thin paint. In our block-in, still using thin paint, and then as we start to add mid-tones and details, we start to use thicker paint, right? So that's probably the number one thing that you have to get a feel for with oils, is that very, very thin. Heather says, I notice you use a thin medium of artisan oils. Is it much different to using water? It's not a lot different from a thinning point of view. I'm just experimenting, and so I've been using the artisan oil paints, and what Heather's referring to is, I mostly thin them down with water, but I've been experimenting with the little thinner that you can get with the artisan range, and it feels slightly smoother. I don't know how to describe it any differently than that, Heather, but it feels slightly smoother. So especially for blocking in big areas like the sky. But the other thing I've been experimenting with is, let me pop my glasses on. I'm getting old. Fast drying medium, right? This one here. I've been experimenting with that, and the fast drying medium, it's kind of like a honey consistency. So it does dry sticky in your medium jar, but that actually is quite good. It actually does dry the paint out quite a bit quicker. So I have been experimenting. I've also ordered, because I know, Heather, you use Cobra paints. They have a fast drying medium in a bottle, and I've ordered some of that from the UK. So I'm really looking forward to that arriving, because having it be able to dry a bit faster, I think will be a huge advantage. Lisa says, I seem to get in a mess. Yeah, there's no doubt that oil paints do get messier. You get used to that, and you also get better at dealing with them so that you don't get in such a mess. When I used to worry about getting in a mess, and then I bought 3 DVDs from probably my favourite artist, contemporary artist, Ken Knight, and when I saw the way he painted and the mess he got himself into, it liberated me from ever worrying about being in a mess again. It was just such a mind-blowing approach. He was just like a mess on steroids. So I thought, wow, I'm not so messy after all. Oils can be a bit messier, no doubt. John, I work through to Chinese New Year, so no problem, but do need to review some lessons again. Back to basics. It's always good to get back to basics, I agree. Lisa's getting artisan oils for Christmas. Yes, good. They're probably, the Cobra is the best brand, I think, in terms of water mixer I've tried, but the artisan's a good compromise, price point and so on. So that'll be good. So if you're getting the artisan, then go through the water mixable course, and there's a section in there where I talk about reducing the paint consistency. So you want to have a look at that section as well, Lisa. Beverly says, what is a good base number of paintings to have on hand prior to setting up an eBay account? I don't think there is a number. Just paint, and every painting you do, pop them up, and you'll build it up over time. I think the more you have up there, the more chances of making a sale. So I don't know if there's a good base number prior to opening an eBay account. Start with what you've got. You know, if you've got 5 paintings laying around, put them up, and then just keep adding to them over time. Beverly's got water mixable oils on her Santa list. Yep, Santa's going to be busy at the art supplies this year. Okay, Colin has asked, Rod, just wanted to know if it's possible to make acrylics look like oils. Depends on what you mean by look like oils. You know, one of the things I love about oils is you can use a very painterly approach. You can get lots of thick paint, you can get lots of brush marks, and you can feel the essence of the artist's marks on an oil painting. Can you do that with acrylic? You can. Not all brands of acrylic, but the Artilia Interactive, one of the reasons why I like those is they have a consistency that's quite buttery, a little bit like oils. If you use enough of those, you can paint in a similar way to oils, and you can get that painterly feel with brush marks and so on in there. So yes, you can, and I think it's more about the brand of acrylic and the approach you use as opposed to the addition of mediums, I suspect. So I'm not sure I answered your question there, Colin. Let me know if that's what you meant or not. Rose, I'm into all mediums, cannot choose yet. Yeah, I think we all go through that, but it depends on what your goals are, Rose. If your goal is just to have fun and do a few paintings and have fun, then play around with all mediums, right? If you want to become an artist who sells and builds a business and a career, you do have to narrow down to one, maybe 2 mediums, but one that you specialize in. There's very few artists who flip around from medium to medium who are professional that I know of. Herman Peckel is probably one. He paints watercolor and oils, but yeah, there's not too many. So yeah, it depends on what your goals are. If you want to develop a career or a business around your art, then start thinking about narrowing it down. Celine, what is your preferred medium? Oils is my preferred medium, but water mixable oils. And I just love the feel of them, and I love the fact that you can work back into them. I love the buttery consistency of them. So yeah, water mixable oils is definitely my preferred medium, Celine. Beverly, what is a good base number of paint? Oh, we've already done that one. John's laughing at something. I can't remember what you were laughing at. Cobra doesn't have a crimson, so I'm wondering what red is good substitute. Now, that's a really good question, because also in the acrylic range, the Dynamics, which I've recommended to a lot of people, for acrylics, they don't have a crimson either. So basically, alizarin crimson or permanent alizarin crimson is a cool red with transparency. So the next best match is magenta. So Cobra do have a magenta. So that's what I've been using with my Cobra paints there, Heather. Lisa, I use Artilia paints. They are really good. You can work back into them, but not in the same way that you can with oils. To work back into the Artilia acrylics, you have to rehydrate them, and it's just not the same, trust me, as working back in. But that's definitely an advantage with the Artilia paints for sure. And there's a lot of the Artilia paints are very versatile. Like, I like to use my squirty bottle and let it all drip and run. So I like them for more abstract type work. The series that I showed you, the Noosa paintings there, that's probably more impressionist to realism sort of style, and I find the oils better for that. So yeah, but the Artilia is a great acrylic paint for sure. Miriam, when I finally switched over to oils, I felt amazed at how they changed my work. Yeah, definitely. And now the thing with oils, I agree with what Miriam's saying, it does change your work. But the thing with oils is that you have to just work through that initial period of getting used to them and getting a feel for them, right? Because it can be frustrating. But if you just know that if you persist and you keep working at them and you follow the right working methodology, darks to lights, right? Don't put your lights in first and then try and put darks over your lights. Won't work with oils, right? And the only way to really understand that is to try it, and then you'll find out. So darks to lights and thin paint to thick paint. You know, there's a few basic principles that if you follow those, then you can improve your oil painting pretty consistently. Yeah, and oils has always been my preferred medium since November 2010. So I was painting in watercolor and acrylics and stuff prior to that. But in November 2010, I did my very first oil painting. And that first oil painting, I was just like, wow, this is what I should be doing. And I sort of moved away from it a couple of years ago when I started to get some health issues and stuff, and painted more in acrylics. It was mainly a health decision. But then when I found water mixable oils, I was like, wow, okay, we're back in oils, right? Colin says that he finds acrylics seem to lack the luster that oils have. I agree. They do tend to potentially dry a little flat at times, and some of the colour mixes, especially if you're mixing tertiary colours, they can go a little bit flat and a bit dull. You can bring them back up when you varnish them. You put a little bit more life back into them, but I agree. Acrylics can... I think acrylics work best when you focus more on vibrant primary colours than, you know, if you're painting landscapes and seascapes, we're probably heading a little bit more towards greying things off a bit, and I think that's where you run into problems with acrylics potentially. But good point, Colin. Rose says, sold my first painting last week. It was a watercolour. Well done, Rose. Yay. What a great feeling, hey? Give Rose a round of applause. I think it's always exciting to sell your first painting. So that's awesome. That's awesome. John's laughing at the messy painter comment. Yep. I mean, that little brief tour of my studio you just saw hopefully gives you some indication that I'm definitely not a neat painter, a neat artist. Miriam says, I agree, there's a learning curve to oils. Yeah, it's different from acrylics. Heather, yes, Rod, best lesson I am learning is thin to thick. Yeah, that is the key. And dark to light, right? Because if you don't get the dark to light and thin to thick right, you'll just turn it into a mess. And this is why people struggle with oil paints, right? And so the Moore method of painting is structured in such a way that we start with our darks and we head towards our lights at the end, and we start with thin paint and we head towards thick paint, right? So it's been structured specifically to work with oils. So yeah, good to hear that you're learning that lesson there, Heather. Miriam, would you die watching me paint? I don't use gloves or water mixable oils and tend to use fingers often. I don't know that I'll die just from watching you, but I don't want to be breathing in those more toxic fumes. Yeah, I don't use gloves either, and I probably should. Yeah, I'll be cautious of using your finger in more traditional oils and solvents and so on, but that's a personal choice. All right, what other questions do we have, my friends? What other questions do we have? Oh, I read that wrong. I read it as would you die, but you actually wrote you would die watching me. Well, hopefully I wouldn't. You never know. You think gloves are weird? Yeah, I'm a little bit like gloves. Gloves and painting to me is kind of, well, they probably can't use that analogy in good company, but yeah. Put that thought out of my mind. Yeah, I've used gloves, my hands get really hot and sweaty, and the gloves always break eventually. So I don't know, I must have big hands for the gloves. John says, I get extremely messy when spray painting. Yeah, I imagine you would. And I've been banned to our roof for doing that. Spray painting on the roof. Yeah, you definitely need a respirator for spray painting, for sure. For sure. Well, friends, What other questions? What is your opinion of pressure pack acrylic varnish? Pressure pack as in a can of spray varnish, I think is what you mean there, Barry. That's what I use for varnishing my paintings. Is I use 2 or 3 coats of that, and I think it works just as fine as using, you know, something out of a bottle and brushing it on. So I don't see any difference between the two. And you do have to make sure that you take your painting outside and do it outside, and you want to make sure it's not a windy day, and you've got to be able to get a nice even coat, and you've got to make sure you don't over spray with each layer because it can run and then form little blobs. But overall, I think spray varnish is perfectly fine, Barry. Comes down to personal preferences, of course. All right. What other questions do we have? What other questions do you have for me? Celine, what is your most challenging subject? Mine is the eye. Well, that's a really interesting question. Most challenging subject for me, it's something I'd like to be able to paint better, is putting figures into beach scenes. That's probably for me the most challenging thing. I can do larger figures, you know, but where I've got a beach scene and I don't want the figures to be the dominant part of it, putting them in with enough interest and detail without becoming the subject is probably the most challenging thing for me right now, and being able to do that wet in wet with oil paint. So I can do it reasonably well when the painting's dried and I come back and do it, but I'd prefer not to do that. I prefer to be an ala prima painter, which means to, you know, paint wet into wet basically in one setting. So that's probably the thing that challenges me the most at the moment. That changes over time, but I'd say that's the most challenging thing for me at the moment, Celine. A good question. And, you know, the things that challenge us the most are the ones that we need to focus in on most likely. Unless it's something we don't actually want to paint, but yeah. All right. Yvonne's asked how many layers of spray varnish. I use 2 to 3 coats of spray varnish, just depending on how thick they go on. But yeah, usually 2 to 3 is enough. Yvonne. And Miriam says, it's my son's birthday and I'm off to have his little party. Cheers, everyone. Thanks, Rod. See you, Miriam. Chat soon, and enjoy your birthday. And stay warm, like us. Beverly says, it's winter here and lighting has changed dramatically. What type of lighting in addition to daylight do you recommend? Do you mean in the studio? What lights do you use in the studio? Or do you mean how do you paint different light? Yeah, I think if you mean lighting in the studio, for me, I've got a different setup because I've got lights here for filming predominantly. But if I was not filming all the time, I would have overhead fluoros that have got a daylight bulb in them. So you can get those from hardware stores and so on. So I hope that's what you meant, Beverly. Let me know if it's not, but a good question. John, wishing everyone well over the Christmas period. May you all have a blessed time. That's very nice of you, John. Thank you very much. Yes, Merry Christmas to all. And I hope you have a nice break with the family. I'm heading down to Victoria to see my mum and sister and brother. And I'll probably do a few paintings on the way back. Heather, I'm experimenting using walnut oil with the Cobra and works well and feels better than water. Dries faster than linseed. Okay, that's good. Is that a particular product that Cobra make to go with their water mixable oils, or is that a another brand or another company's product that you've just tried with the Cobra. I'd be interested to hear your feedback there, Heather. As I said, I bought a bottle of fast drying medium, which is made by Cobra, and it's coming from the UK, so I'm really looking forward to trying that out. Beverly, I have a sea of white outside as I live on a lake, but cloud over really gets drab. So you've got ice and so on. Yeah, it is always tricky when the outdoors is grey, do you paint it like that, or do you use a bit of artistic license to warm it up? But I think if you really look into snow and ice and things like that, if you look closely, you'll see that there's different colours in the shadows and the highlights and so on. So you probably can make more of it than what it initially appears to the eye. If you look at some of Monet's paintings of the snow and look into his shadows there, he did some amazing work. So, but there's what we were talking about earlier, is building out a body of work around one subject. That might be, that's how you get really good at painting snow, is to do 40 or 50 paintings in a collection of that. So, yeah, it's not easy painting grey though, unless you like painting grey. Carol's asking how many students in this session. It's varied between the different channels, about 50 or 60 and down to about 20, what are we up to, 25 at the moment, if that helps you, Carol. In the studio, so yeah, Beverly, in the studio, just use fluoros overhead, and you can get different bulbs. Some of them are set to daylight bulbs, and that's what I would use. Kathleen, when blocking in, I lose the drawing and end up with a bunch of dark blobs. Well, Kathleen, I think you don't want to block in up to your lines, right? See, one of the things I stress all the time in our Learn to Paint TV episodes is that you block in over the lines, and it does look a bit blobby during the block-in phase. So I wouldn't be put off by that. What you want to do is then in the step 3 of the Moore method of painting, is when we start to refine it, we bring the shapes back into better shape. So the lines, the initial drawing and lines are really there just to know where to block in, right? It's just where are the big shapes going. So I wouldn't be put off by it looking like a bunch of dark blobs, because that's pretty much how mine looks. I think I've mentioned on the last live stream that I've joined a mentoring program with a world-renowned artist, and looking at his block in, that's exactly how it looks. A whole lot of dark, blobby patches of, dark. But then he starts to tighten it up and bring it together as he moves into that sort of phase of putting in his middle tones and details. So I don't know that's necessarily a problem, Kathleen. Maybe just watch some more of our videos and look at how we then address step 3 to tighten it up. Heather says, no, it's supermarket food grade walnut oil. Well, okay, well, there you go. I have heard of people using walnut oil, but I didn't realise they were getting it from the supermarket. Walnut oil keeps my brushes in great conditions as well. Do you have a brand or a supermarket recommendation? I'll go and get some today and have a play around with it, Heather. That's a good tip. Thank you. All right, where are we up to on YouTube? Rose says, figures are just carrots. Yeah, that's true, absolutely. But I want to try and give them a little bit of life, I want to tell a story in my beach paintings, my seascape paintings, and so getting them into different positions and so on. Yeah, but I agree with what you're saying. At their essence, little figures are just carrot-type shapes. Robert says, I enjoyed this session, but I have to go. Cheers, Robert. Thanks for joining us, mate. We'll see you on the live streams next year or over at the Learn to Paint Academy. Terry, what do you use as a camera for your live streams and your art instruction YouTube videos? I've been teaching at senior centres and have been contemplating doing videos. Well, Terry, the best and simplest and easiest way to start out is with your mobile phone. When I started, when we first moved up here to Noosa and I set up in the garage here, I was filming my courses and doing live streams on my mobile phone. So if you've got a recent mobile phone, like an iPhone or a Samsung, a 7, 8, 9 or 10 series, use that, because my setup here is quite different, quite complex, that enables me to be able to switch between different scenes and it took quite an investment to set it up this way, and it's also quite complex to run and manage it all. So I don't think that's a good starting place. Start with your mobile phone, right? And you can film it off your mobile phone. And if I show you, I bought this little stand. This is my mobile phone that I used before for that walk about the studio. I bought this little stand on eBay, I think it was, for the mobile phone. So you could set that up and start filming yourself doing videos, right? And I use the backboard there, and I used to have my palette up on the backboard and the canvas there so you could see both in the one shot. That's how I'd start. Now if you want more details on that, one of the courses in the Learn to Paint Academy is Start and Run an Art Teaching Business, and in there's a whole module on how to create your own online courses and projects, and more about the technology and side of it. But good on you, Terry. That's a good idea to start. Definitely. Never been a better time in history. Barry says, have a great Christmas, everyone. Catch up with you all next time. Got to go. Cheers, Barry. Enjoy your Christmas shopping, mate. Hi, Evelyn. You are a little bit late, but that's okay. You can always catch up on the replay. Good to see you, though. Cheers, Gladys. You have a great Christmas, too. Last live stream for the year, yeah. And next year we're going to do things a little bit differently. So look out for an announcement on that. G'day, Matthew in Ireland. How are you, mate? Good to see you. So Heather's saying, for those who are interested, the Walnut brand is Presses, Purity Cold Pressed, produced in Kingaroy. Oh, local. Excellent. Bought it at Woolworths. Okay, I'll go and get some. All right. Merry Christmas, Lisa. Well, I think we're going to wind up there because a few of you have got to go, and there's no more live streams for this year. So, Lisa, just to let you know, you won't be missing it. This is the last one for the year. And look out for notifications and so on early next year for what we're going to do from there. So I am going to give away, thank you, Terry in Ohio. I'm going to give away on YouTube, Celine Gibson is our winner of our limited edition mouse mat. Well done, Celine. Your question was, what is your preferred... no, that's not a question. Yeah, your question was, what is your most challenging subject? And I thought that was a good question. So, Celine, I'm going to give you the limited edition mouse mat. Now, what you need to do is contact our support desk. If you go to learntopaint.support and then use the function there to be able to send us a message, let us know that you were the winner of the mouse mat and your postal address, and we'll send that out to you, okay? So congratulations, Celine. And on our Facebook, let me just scroll back. I've forgotten all the questions. Pardon me. Oh, I can't see any of the questions. Well, I'll tell you what, I might give it to Heather for giving us that tip about the walnut oil. I think that's a good tip. So Heather, you've won our limited edition mouse mat. Again, if you go to our support desk, learntopaint.support, and tell us you've won and your postal address, then we will get that out in the post to you. And for those of you who joined us for the first time, or maybe watching the replay, and you're new to us or what we do here at the Learn to Paint Academy, write this address down, learntopaint.info. Okay, you can go there, you can register for a free course. I'll talk about the More method of painting in more detail, which is what we do at the Learn to Paint Academy. And you can get access to 4 or maybe even 5 different painting demonstrations, and learn about, you know, how to improve your painting using the method we teach here. So please write that down. Thank you to everyone for joining us on our live stream today. Pardon me. And all the previous live streams and watching and supporting what we do. Greatly appreciate it, and I hope you all have a terrific Christmas and a happy New Year, and we'll see you in the new year. Thanks, Yvonne. Appreciate your support. G'day Joyce in Texas. Happy Christmas to you too, Peter. Yes, as John says, keep arting. That's arting, farting. Thanks, Yvonne. It's been wonderful watching and listening. I appreciate you watching. Thank you, Heather. Donna says, you've taught me so much, especially understanding values and shapes. That's great, Donna. Thank you very much. Appreciate the feedback. Cheers, John. Thank you, Beverly. Be careful surfing. Yep, my rib is... I think the doctor said I dislocated some of my ribs. It's just about ready. I'll be back next week surfing, I reckon. So I will be careful. Kind of. Cheers, Gladys. Have a Merry Christmas. Thanks, Evelyn. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Colin. Colin says, thank you so much for all your valuable instruction and wisdom that you've shared with us and all your support. My pleasure, Colin. It's a pleasure to see and watch everyone's development and growth. Thanks, Rose. Have enjoyed your talks and learning lots. Good on you. We shall have a great Christmas and hope you guys all have a great Christmas as well. And thank you, Gab. Merry Christmas to you as well. Stay safe over in WA. And I will talk to you all soon. Happy Christmas and cheers for now. See ya.